I mostly read public domain books here on Glen Reads Books to You, and they were written a long time ago, so they're usually racist, or sexist, or bigoted, but in there somewhere is a story, and that's why those stories are famous. Other times, I read works from independent authors, and they're delightfully not racist, but they might have adult language or adult situations, like, making sex. So that's your warning, but I'm sure you're grown up enough to handle it. Don't write to me complaining. I'm just waiting. They're gonna show up any second now. Oh, here they come. Here they come. Yeah. 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 Why don't you take a seat? I picked the most boring thing in the world to read to you, so that you'll never come back here again. Oh, what could I possibly be reading that would drive you away from my home that you come to once a week? Oh, yeah, maybe something William Shakespeare. Yeah. This week, we're going to read Much Ado About Nothing, and you're going to sit there, and you're going to like it. Welcome to the Glen Reads Books to You mansion. It's a fun little bit where I pretend to live in a mansion and not just recording in my basement. This is where I read the hottest public domain books and short stories. This week, we're going to start reading Much Ado About Nothing to Drive You Away by William Shakespeare. Oh, you want to learn about William Shakespeare? Sure you do. We don't know when he's born, but he was baptized April 1564, and he died the 23rd of April, 1616. Shakespeare nerds like to say that he was born April 23rd, 1564, just because they think it's cool that he died then. They sort of made his unofficial birthday. They're morons. He was an English playwright, poet and actor, and he's regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's preeminent dramatist. Oh, he is often called England's national poet and the Bard of Avon, or Avon, I don't know, whatever, or simply just the Bard. His works include collaborations that consist of some 39 plays, 154 sonnets, 3 long narrative poems, and a few other verses, some of uncertain authorship. Oh, his plays have been translated into every major living language and are performed more often than those of any other playwright, including Andrew Lloyd Webber. He remains arguably the most influential writer in the English language, and his works continue to be studied and reinterpreted. I don't have so much fun facts as I sort of feel like I need to gear you up for the kind of story we're going to be, not story, it's a play. It's going to be awkward. I have to keep saying everyone's name before they speak, but this is what you get. I was doing an episode of Unsighted podcast a while ago, like a year ago, basically, and they forced me to read/watch Romeo and Juliet, which I did with my wife. And so we got through that horse shit. And then at the end of it, my wife says, oh, yeah, it'd be funny if you read something. You should read Much Ado About Nothing. It's playful and whimsical. And I said, okay. So I put it on the list, hoping that someday I would never get to it. But then I ran out of books, so now we're reading it. This play is a lot like the ancient love stories that Shakespeare had read in Latin. It follows the formula of kids want to be in love. Something gets in the way, like a family or a law, so they can't be in love. They find a way to skirt around it, and in the end, they get what they want. Or if it's like Romeo and Juliet, they all die. But like Romeo and Juliet, there's always the bro element. It's always a bunch of fellas hanging out, talking about women and their privates, and just being real cool. And so, where the guys are alpha male dicks, it's a matter of either getting into the group or the lead male rising above it and becoming a better person. So we're going to experience that in this story. And like most of his comedies, there's an A and B story. So there's more than one storyline going on. His tragedies normally only have one story that it follows, like Romeo and Juliet, but when it comes to comedy, it'll sprout off into multiple storylines. It's a thing that they still do today in comedy shows, like Big Bang Theory. You want to hear another fun fact? Sure. This is all about word jokes. The title, Much Ado About Nothing, at first glance, just means making a big deal out of nothing. But the nothing in the title back then was also pronounced noting, which usually means for them eavesdropping and gossip. Translating the title into what a lot of drama around some eavesdropping. And then my wife told me that in her Shakespeare class, her instructor said that it's also a play on words to relate to the vagina. The nothing being no thing, meaning no dick. It's something that it was used again when Hamlet is talking to Ophelia and talks about how she's got nothing going on down there, no privates, which translates into making a big deal out of people with no dicks. So the title alone warns us of an almost nightmarish level of wordplay that we'll be experiencing throughout the rest of this story. So why don't we dive into it? Well, there you go. Get yourself settled in and prepare to be driven away from my home through the power of ancient art. So, I'm going to help you a little bit because anytime I read Shakespeare, I kind of just gloss over. Why? Because there's a lot of common terms used back then that we don't know what the hell they're talking about now. Kind of like no thing. Oh, we wouldn't laugh at that now. It's like, what the hell's that supposed to mean? Back then, everyone knew everything's based around the penis. So they go, oh, no thing. Yes, I get it. So I'm going to try and help you out with the storyline so you don't completely gloss over. Scene 1 of Act 1, what happens? We get introduced to all the main people. Leonardo, the father of Hero, and the uncle of Beatrice. Hero, the daughter, I just mentioned her. Beatrice. I like Beatrice, but we're going to say it the right way. Beatrice, the niece of Leonardo. Don Pedro, a very important nobleman from Aragon, or warlord, who's BFFs with Leonardo. Benedict, a gentleman's soldier. Claudio, the hanger-on. He's just like this little boy that just kind of hangs around Benedict. Probably, who knows why. Don John, he's Don Pedro's bastard half-brother. Balthazar, a waiting man in Leonardo's household, and a musician. Isn't that fun? Conrad, Don John's servant, and Baraccio, Don John's gossipy little servant man. In this scene, Leonardo is hanging around his McMansion, where his niece has been staying for way too long. A messenger runs up to say that Don Pedro is coming, even though he's just like 100 feet away from the McMansion. So they asked the guy how Don Pedro did in the war, and even though they could just ask them themselves in a minute, it turns out he did great. Beatrice asks about a guy, Benedict, and it turns out he's fine too, and now he's acquired a child friend, Claudio. You get a lot of banter from Benedict and Beatrice, and you get the idea that they don't like each other. Claudio and Benedict and Don John are all invited to stay for a month in this beautiful McMansion. And Claudio is really into Hero. And since it's all normal to want to instantly marry someone you just because you saw him, he tells Benedict all about it. Don Pedro decides that he'll dress up like Claudio at the costume party, and smooth up on Hero, and get her to like him for some reason. And I get that he's shy, but that's just weird. Then he's going to talk to Leonardo about it, and bloop, they get married, just like that, all one night. They only just learned each other's names. So why don't we dive into how weird this is going to sound when I read it. Enter Leonardo, governor of Messina, Hero, his daughter, and Beatrice, his niece, with a messenger. Leonardo, I learn in this letter that Don Pedro of Aragon comes this night to Messina. The messenger says, he's very nearby this. He was not 3 leagues off when I left him. How many gentlemen have you lost in this action? Few of any sort, none of name. Victory is twice itself when the achiever brings home full numbers. I find that here that Don Pedro has bestowed much honor on a young Florentine called Claudio. Much deserved on his part, and equally remembered by Don Pedro. He hath borne himself beyond the promise of his age, doing in the figure of a lamb, the feats of a lion, he hath indeed bettered expectation than you must expect of me. Tell you how. He hath an uncle here in Messina, will be very much glad of it. I've already delivered him letters, and there appears much joy in him, even though so much joy could not show itself modest enough without a badge of bitterness. Did he break out in tears? In great measure. A kind overflow of kindness. There's no better faces truer than those that are so washed. How much better it is to weep at joy than to joy at weeping. Yeah. Then Beatrice jumps in. I pray you, is Signor Montanto returned from the wars or no? I know none by that name, lady. There was none such in the army of any sort. And Leonardo jumps in and says, what is it you asked for, niece? Hero jumps in and says, my cousin, Signor Benedict of Padua. Oh, he's returned, and is as pleasant as he ever was. Beatrice, he set up his bills here in Messina and challenged Cupid at the flight. And my uncle's fool, reading the challenge, subscribed for Cupid and challenged him at the bird bolt. I pray you, how many hath he killed and eaten in these wars? But how many hath he killed? For indeed I promise to eat all of his killing. Leonardo, faith, niece, you tax Signor Benedict too much, but he'll meet with you, I doubt it not. He hath done good service, lady, in these wars. Beatrice, he had musty victual, and he hath hope to eat it. Oh, he is a very vigilant trencherman. He hath an excellent stomach. He's a good soldier, too, lady, and a good soldier to a lady, but what is he to a lord? Yes. A lord to a lord, a man to a man, stuffed with all honorable virtues. It is so indeed. He is no less than a stuffed man, but for stuffing, well, we are all mortal. Leonardo, you must not, sir, mistake my niece. There is a kind of merry war betwixt Signor Benedict and her. They never meet, but there's a skirmish of wit between them. Beatrice, alas, he gets nothing by that. In our last conflict, 4 or 5 wits went halting off, and now the whole man governed with no one. That if he were wit enough to keep himself warm, let him bear it for the difference between himself and his horse. For is all the wealth that he hath left to be known in a reasonable creature. Who is his companion now? Oh, he hath every month a new sword brother. The messenger, is it possible? Beatrice, it's very possible. He wears his faith, but like a fashion on his hat, if it ever changes with the next block. I see, lady, the gentleman is not in your books. No, and he were, I would burn my study, get it? But I pray you, who is his companion? Is there no young square now that will make the voyage with him to the devil? Is most in the company of the right noble Claudio. Oh, Lord, he will hang upon him like a disease. Oh, he is no sooner caught than the pestilence, and the taker runs presently mad. God help noble Claudio, if he have caught the Benedict, he will have cost him 1,000 pounds ere he be cured. I'll hold friends with you, lady. I do, good friend. Leonardo, you will never run mad, niece. No, not till hot January. The messenger, Don Pedro, is approached. Enter Don Pedro, Prince of Aragon, with Claudio, Benedict, Balthazar, and Don John the Bastard. Don Pedro, good Signor Leonardo, are you come to meet your trouble? The fashion of the world is to avoid cost and to encounter it. Leonardo, it never came trouble to my house in the likeness of your grace. For trouble being gone, comfort should remain. Yes, but when you depart from me, sorrow abides and happiness takes leave. Oh, you embrace your charge too, will you? I think is this your daughter? Her mother hath many times told me so. Benedict, were you in doubt, sir, that you asked her? Leonardo, Signor Benedict, no, for when you were a child. Don Pedro says, you have full Benedict. Oh, we may guess by what you are, being a man. Truly, the lady fathers herself. Be happy, lady, for you are like an honorable father. Leonardo and Don Pedro moved to one side, still talking. Benedict, if Signor Leonardo be her father, she would not have his head on her shoulders for all Messina, as like him as she is. Beatrice, I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Benedict. Nobody marks you. What? My dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living? Oh, is it possible Disdain should die while she hath such meat food to feed it as Signor Benedict? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come into her presence. That it's a courtesy, a turncoat. But it's certain I am loved of all ladies, only you excepted, and I could find in my heart that I have not had a hard heart, for truly I love none. Dear happiness to women, they should else have been troubled with pernicious suitor. I thank God that my cold blood, I am your humor for that. I had rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear loves me. God keep your ladyship still in that mind, so some gentleman or some other shall escape the pernicious scratched face. Or scratching would not make it worse, as 'twere such a face whereas yours. Oh, well, you are like the parrot teacher. A bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours. Oh, I wish my horse had the speed of your tongue, and so good a counter. But keep your way. In God's name I have done. You've always ended with a jade's trick. I know you of old. Leonardo and Don Pedro come forward. Don Pedro. Oh, that is the sum of all, Leonardo. Signor Claudio and Signor Benedict, my friend, Leonardo, hath invited you all. I tell him we shall stay here at least a month, and he shall hardly pray for some occasion to contain us longer, and I dare swear he is no hypocrite, but prays from his heart. Leonardo, if you swear, my lord, I shall be forsworn. To Don John he says, let me bid you welcome, my lord. Being reconciled to the prince of your brother, I owe you all duty. Don John, I thank you. I'm not of many words, but I thank you. Leonardo, does it please your grace to lead on? Don Pedro, your hand, Leonardo. We will go together. And then Benedict, they leave. And then there's Benedict and Claudio. Claudio says, didst thou note the daughter of Signor Leonardo? I noted her not, but I looked on her. Is she not a modest young lady? Do you question me, an honest man should do, for my simple true judgment? Or do you have me speak after my custom, as being a professed tyrant to their sex? No, I speak thee, pray, in sober judgment. Why, I faith, methinks she is too low for high praise, and too brown for fair praise. That's weird. A little too great, or too little for great praise. Only this commendation I can afford her, that were she other than she is, she were unhandsome, and no other but as she is, I do not like her. Thou thinkest I'm in sport? I pray thee, tell me, truly, howst thou likest her? Would you buy her, that you inquire after her? Can the world buy such a jewel? Yea, and a case put into it. But speak with you, this a sad brow, or do you play the flouting jack? The hell's the flouting jack? To tell us, Cupid is a good fair finder, and a Vulcan, a rare carpenter. Come in, what key shall a man take you to go into that song? In mine eye, she is the sweetest lady I have ever looked on. And I can yet see without spectacles, and I can see no such matter. There's her cousin, and as she were not possessed with fury, exceeds her as much in beauty as the 1st of May doth the last of December. But I hope that you have no intent to turn husband. Have you? I would scarce trust myself, though I had sworn the contrary, if Hero would be my wife. It's come to this. In faith, have not the world one man, but he would wear his cap with suspicion. Shall I ever see a bachelor of 80 again? Go to, in faith, and thou wilt needs thrust thy neck into a yoke, wear the print of it, and sigh away Sundays. Look, Don Pedro has returned to seek you. Enter Don Pedro. What secret hath you here that you followed not to Leonardo's? Benedict, I would your grace constrain me to tell. Don Pedro, I charge thee on the alliance. Now you hear, Count Claudio, I can be secret as a dumb man. I would have had you think so, but on my allegiance, mark you this, on my allegiance to Don Pedro, he is in love with who? Oh, now that's your grace's part. Mark how short his answer is. With Hero. Leonardo's short daughter. Claudio, if this were so, so it were uttered. Benedict, like the old tale, my lord, it's not so, nor 'twas not so indeed, but God forbid it should be so. Claudio, if my passion change not shortly, God forbid it should be otherwise. Don Pedro, amen if you love her, for the lady is very well worthy. Ye speak this to fetch me in, my lord? Don Pedro, by my troth I speak my thought, and in faith, my lord, I spoke mine. Benedict, and my 2 faiths and troths, my lord, I spoke mine. Claudio, that I love her, I feel. Don Pedro, that she's worthy, I know. Benedict, that I neither feel now how she should have loved, nor how she should be worthy, is the opinion that fire cannot melt out of me. I will die in it at the stake. Don Pedro, thou wast ever an obstinate heretic in spite of beauty. Claudio, I should never maintain his part, but in the force of his will. Benedict, that a woman conceived me, I thank her, that she brought me up, and likewise gave her most humble thanks, but that I will have a recheat winded. What's a recheat? Let's look that up. Come on. Nothing. Translation? Nothing. Dictionary? Nothing. My wife did Shakespeare class. What's a recheat?
Huh?
What's a recheat?
What?
All right, forget it. We're moving on. I will have a recheat winded in my forehead, or hang my bugle in an invisible baldric. All women shall pardon me, because I will not do them the wrong to mistrust any. I will do myself the right to trust none. And the fine is, for which I may go the finer, I will live a bachelor. Don Pedro, I shall see thee ere I die. Look pale with love. Benedict, with anger, with sickness or hunger, my lord, but not with love. Prove that I ever lose more blood with love than I get again with drinking. Pick out mine eyes with a ballad maker's pen and hang me up at the door of a brothel house for the sign of a blind Cupid. My wife just waved her phone at me, and it turns out a recheat is a bugle call to hunt hounds or some foxes. Assemble hounds. All right. Moving on. Don Pedro says, well, if ever thou thus fall from this faith, thou wilt prove a notable argument. Benedict, if I do, hang me in a bottle like a cat, and shoot at me. And if he hits me, let him be clapped on the shoulder and called Adam. Don Pedro, well, as time shall try, in the time the savage bull doth bear the yoke. Oh, the savage bull may, but if he ever the sensible Benedict bear it, pluck off the bull's horns and set them in my forehead. And let me be vilely painted, and in such great letters as they write, here's good horse to hire. Let them signify under my sign. Here you may see Benedict, the married man. Claudio, if you should ever happen, thou wouldst be horn mad. Don Pedro, nay, if Cupid have not spent all its quiver in Venice, thou wilt quake for this shortly. What, Cupid's just running around Venice, making everyone fall in love? Like there's all a bunch of whores out there? Benedict, I look for an earthquake too, then, Don Pedro. Well, you temporize with the hours. In the meantime, good Signor Benedict, repair to Leonato's. Commend me to him, and tell him that I will not fail him at supper, for indeed he hath made a great preparation. Benedict, I have almost matter enough for me in such an embassage. Oh, and so I commit to you, Claudio. Oh, to the tuition of God, from my house, if I had it. Don Pedro, the 6th of July, your loving friend, Benedict. Oh, nay, mock not. The body of your discourse is sometimes guarded with fragments, and the guards are but slightly basted on neither. Ere you flout old ends any further, examine your conscience, and so I leave you. Exit. Claudio says, my liege, your highness now may do me good. Don Pedro, my love is thine to teach, but teach it but now, and how shalt see how apt it is to learn any hard lesson that may do thee good. Hath Leonardo any son, my lord? No, but Hero. She is his only heir. Dost thou affect her, Claudio? Oh, my lord. Oh, when you went onward in this ended action, I looked upon her with this soldier's eye. That I liked her, had a rougher task in hand than to drive liking to the name of love. But now I'm returned, and that war thoughts and have left places vacant, and their rooms come thronging soft and delicate desires, all prompting me how fair young Hero is. Saying I liked her ere I went to wars. Thou wilt be like a lover presently, and tire the hearer with a book of words. If thou dost love fair Hero, cherish it, and I will break with her and her father, and thou shalt have her. Was it not to this end that thou began to twist so fine a story? How sweetly you do minister to love, that no loves grief by its complexion. But lest my liking be too sudden, seem I should have saved it with a longer treatise. Oh, what need the bridge much broader than the flood? The fairest grant is a necessity. Look when it will serve as to fit. 'Tis once thou lovest, and I will fit thee with the remedy. I know we shall have revelling tonight, and I will assume thy part in some disguise, and tell fair hero that I am Claudio. And then in her bosom I'll unclasp my heart, and I'll take her, hearing prisoner, with force and strong encounter my amorous tale. And then after to her father I'll break, and the conclusion is she shall be thine. And in practice, let us put it presently. Well, that's the end of that disturbing scene. Don Pedro's just kind of jumping in, like, I'm going to dress like you and act like you, and I'm going to get this girl to like you, so you could just marry her, and we'll trick her, and there's no problems with that. Why don't we get into scene 2? What happens in this scene? Leonardo runs into his elder brother Antonio, because everyone's just milling around his house, and he doesn't even know they're there half the time. Antonio says that a servant overheard Don Pedro talking to Claudio, and that Don Pedro was saying how much he loved Hero, and he was going to go tell her. And after that, he was headed over Leonardo's way to get his permission to marry her. Weirdly, for a guy who hangs out in his house with everyone he knows all day, he says that he won't take the rumor seriously until he sees it for himself. He also decides to tell Hero about it so she has a chance to figure out what she wants to do instead of being bombarded by men trying to marry her while she's just trying to party. Scene 2! Enter Leonardo and Antonio. Leonardo. Oh, how now, brother? Where's my cousin, your son? Hath he provided this music? Antonio. Oh, he's very busy about it. But, brother, I could tell you strange news that you've not yet dreamt of. Are they good? Oh, as the event stamps them. But they have good cover. They show well outward. The prince and Count Claudio are walking in the thick peached valley of mine orchard, where thus much overheard by a man of mine. The prince has discovered to Claudio that he loved my niece, your daughter, and meant to acknowledge it this night in a dance. And if he found her accordant, he meant to take the present time to top and instantly break you of it. Hath the fellow any wit that told you this? Oh, he's a good sharp fellow, and I'll send for him and question him yourself. Now, we'll hold it as a dream till it appear itself, but I will acquaint my daughter with all, that she may be the better prepared for an answer if the pre-adventure to this be true. Go you and tell her of it. Enter Antonio's son with a musician and attendants. Cousins, you know what you have to do. Oh, I cry you mercy, friend. Go you with me, and I will use your skill. Good cousin, have a care this busy time. That reminds me of someone else who once wanted love, and he was just kind of too dumb to figure out how to get someone to love him. What did he do? Oh, he watched Mel Gibson's Hamlet, and he decided, women love Shakespeare, because Shakespeare's all about love all the time, even if he watched the version where everyone died. And he's like, maybe I should write my own soliloquies. So he did, and they were horrible. Turns out, if people can't understand half the stuff you're saying, they're not going to get wet. Oh, but he did. And who is that person? Well, it was Stephen Dorglass from Dorglass Incorporated. That's Dorglass.com, Dorglass.com. They're dedicated to fabricating and professionally installing the highest quality glass products from the nation's top manufacturers. Their inventory, combined with their years of experience, makes them the premier source for installation and repair. Oh, they approach every project with the same goals: professionalism, integrity, and they're discreet. But he wasn't discreet. He was working at some lady's house, putting up giant glass windows in her McMansion out in Eden Prairie. And as he put them up, she preened around the house, drinking mint juleps and long flowing silk gowns. And he said, I will write a sonnet for her. Sonnet? Soliloquy? I don't know what I said. And then he's going to do that for her. And so, my lady, methinks your shapes are great. And she called the cops on him. What do? Commercial storefronts, automatic entrances, windows, patio doors, mirrors, shower doors, installation repair, and they'll design and build anything you want, except love. Clients, Pottery Barn, Williams-Sonoma, Sherwin-Williams, Portillo's, the Salt Cave, which is a place you should never go to because you can do yoga in it, hot yoga, and the walls are made of Himalayan salt with lights behind them, so it's like you're like in some sort of giant womb, and you're not supposed to touch the walls. For God's sakes, do not touch the walls. If you touch the walls, you're going to call the Minneapolis police on you, which are the worst police probably in the nation. And Applebee's. Well, with that, why don't we go back to the story and forget all about Stephen Dorgless. He adds nothing to our Shakespearean experience. Well, look at that. We got through all that without even having to go up to the master bedroom. I'm kind of sick of that bit. You're probably wondering, why are we going up to the master bedroom where you make weird comments about sex and stuff? Tired of it. Moving on. The show needs to evolve. So we're staying in the library the whole goddamn time. Well, let's gonna go on this next scene. Scene 3, the unloved Don John, the bastard, is talking with Conrad. And Conrad asks why he's so fussy. Don John says that he lacks the social skills to hide his fuss. Conrad reminds him that Don Pedro has only started being friendly with John again. So he's got to cheer the fuck up before he ruins this. Don John is pissed that he has to conform to what his more well-liked brother wants, or else he's going to lose all his friends and money. Then, gossipy bitch Baraccio runs in telling Don John about overhearing a hostile marriage attempt by Claudio to Hero. He overheard them making plans, except that Baraccio didn't fuck it up. He actually got the story right, and what they know is that Don Pedro is going to pretend to be Claudio and sweep her off her feet. Don John hates Claudio, because he's a handsy boy, and everyone just loves him. So he decides to mess with them and screw up their plans. Conrad and Baraccio are so basic they've all worked into a lather at this entire idea. Scene 3. Enter Don John and Conrad. Conrad. The good year, my lord. Why are you thus out of measure sad? Don John, remember he's the bastard. Oh, there's no measure in the occasion that breeds. Therefore, the sadness is without limit, Conrad. Oh, you should hear reason. What have I heard of it? What blessing brings it? It's not a present remedy, it's at least a patient sufferance. I wonder that thou, being as thou sayest thou art, born under Saturn, goest about to apply moral medicine to a mortifying mischief. I cannot hide what I am. I must be sad when I have cause, and smile at no man's jests. Eat when I have stomach, and wait for no man's leisure. Sleep when I'm drowsy, and tend on no man's business. Laugh when I'm merry, and claw no man in his humor. Yeah, but you must not make the full show of this till you may do it without controlment. You have of late stood out against your brother, and he hath taken you newly into his grace, where it's impossible you should take true root, but by the fair weather that you make yourself. It's needful that you frame the reason for your own harvest. Oh, I'd rather be a canker in a hedge than a rose in the great... What? A canker like a canker sore? It must be a canker sore in a hedge? Let's look that one up. Canker, a necrotic fungal disease of apple and other trees that results in damage to the bark. Well, we learned that. That was kind of a waste of time. In a hedge than a rose in his grace. It better fits my blood to be disdained of all then, to fashion a carriage to rob love from any. In this, though I cannot be said to be a flattering, honest man, it must not be denied that I am a plain-dealing villain. I am trusted with a muzzle and enfranchised with a clog. Therefore, I have decreed not to sing in my cage. If I had a mouth, I'd bite. If I had liberty, I'd do my liking. In the meantime, let me be that I am, and seek not to alter me. Can you make no use for your discontent? Oh, I make all use of it, for I use it only. Who comes here? Enter Baraccio. What news, Baraccio? I came yonder from a great supper. The prince, your brother, is royally entertained by Leonardo, and I can give you intelligence of an intended marriage. Will it serve for any model to build mischief on? He literally just wants to do mischief. What is he for a fool that betroths himself to unquietness? Baraccio, oh, Mary, it's your brother's right hand. Who? The most exquisite Claudio? Even he? A proper squire. And who? Which way looks he? Mary on Hero. the daughter of an heir of Leonardo. Very forward. March, chick, how came you to this? Being entertained for a perfumer. Perfumer? Let's look that up. Literally perfume? That would be really weird. A producer and seller of perfumes. Okay, so apparently someone who's selling perfumes was just like, here, smell this. I was smoking a musty room. Comes to me the prince and Claudio hand in hand in sad conference. Oh, I whipped me behind the arras. That's probably drapes, I'm guessing. And here heard it agreed upon that the prince should woo Hero for himself. And having obtained her, give her to Count Claudio. Come, let us thither. This may prove food to my displeasure. That young startup hath all the glory for my overthrow. If I can cross him in any way, I bless myself every way. Are you sure? Will you assist me? To my death, my lord. Then let us to the great supper, ere cheer is the greater that I am subdued. Would the cook were, my mind, shall we go prove what's to be done? We'll wait upon your lordship. And then they exit. You sleeping? Huh? You bored yet? This'll never bring you back to my house again. I've finally figured out a way to get you to leave my goddamn house. Why don't I force you to go down to the smoking room where you'll watch me smoke cigarettes while I tell you everything I just got done reading to you. Well, there you are. Why don't you get yourself settled and just watch me smoke these cigarettes while I tell you what we just read. Recap? I don't really need to recap. I literally told you what's going to happen. Oh, I forgot about the birds. I told you what's going to happen at the beginning of every scene to try and get you to pay attention, but it's not going to work. It's Shakespeare. You're going to fall asleep because you don't get what anyone's saying. What's good? Well, so far I like the bastard. It's the fussy bastard. That's kind of a good angle. No one really does fussy bastards anymore in movies or television shows. What sucks? There's not enough of the fussy bastard. So far, it's just rich people talking. But otherwise, oh man, that fussy bastard's a great thing. What did we learn? Basically, we get some of that witty dialogue right off the bat. He's just so excited to show us all the whimsy he stayed up all night writing that he just can't help himself. He just dives right in. For example, when Claudio asks Benedict what he thinks of Hero, Benedict says, why in faith, methinks she's too low for high praise, too brown for fair praise, and too little for great praise. Here he uses the deadly art of wordplay, exaggerating what he thinks of her with hyperbole, switching around homophobes, which are words that sound the same but have different meanings. Kind of like poor, meaning not have any money, or pour something into a drink, which in the end means that he just hates women, though we don't really know why. Now, this is written long enough ago that a lot of phrases and symbols that are common knowledge to people watching the play are kind of lost on us. So when he says, the savage bull may, but if ever the sensible Benedict Barrett, pluck off the bull's horns and set them on my forehead and let me be vilely painted, and in such great letters as they write, here is a good horse to hire, and let them signify under my sign, here you may see Benedict the married man. It doesn't make a lot of sense, except that he's just generally saying he just thinks marriage sucks. But it turns out it is because he can't sleep around, and that's why marriage sucks. Back then, the idea of a man with horns coming out of his head was a symbol that he was a cock. Then he slaps on the metaphor about the hired horse, saying that husbands are like farm animals or slaves. So we get to find out that he's just kind of scared that his wife's going to cheat on him and treat him like a horse. So he's not so much a fuckboy. He's actually kind of a sensi-poo piss baby, and I honestly can't decide what's worse. After that, it's all Beatrice and Benedict dragging out metaphors through entire lines of dialogue, like all the parrot and animal stuff, which I'm sure they're all smug and felt good about themselves for. The story is already setting up a lot of messy eavesdropping, gossiping, getting things wrong, and making plans off those wrong ideas, or getting them right and just wanting to fuck with it. It's just all messy all around, but people back then loved it, like how we all like Scandal and the Vanderpump Rules show. Don John John doesn't really have much for motivation to try and ruin a forced marriage besides the fact that he's just a bad guy. He says, though I cannot be said to be a flattering, honest man, it must not be denied that I am but a plain-dealing villain. But generally, he's just kind of jealous of his brother for having more authority. Since the brother's not a bastard, he tries to take a position of caring about honesty. But in the end, it's like saying that you should be forced to hear other people talk a lot of Nazi shit because you really care about free speech, no matter what the consequences. Illegitimate kids back in the Renaissance England had weird lives. They'd be acknowledged by their dads and given money and a good education, but they couldn't inherit anything or be taken seriously by their peers. In a lot of plays back then, they were written about, the bastards are written about kind of romantically, being portrayed as individualistic, courageous, and moral. Basically like Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. But in Shakespeare's plays, and like King Lear, they're always bitter, just kind of turn to crime. He says, I'm trusted with a muzzle and enfranchised with a clog. Therefore, I have decreed not to sing in my cage. Basically saying that he doesn't have any freedom, can't fight against it, and that he refuses to fake happy while he lives this way. But since he can't lash out at his brother, all he can do is fuck with people, just trying to get married. So with that, I hope you're thoroughly bored and you leave my house. And oh, thank God, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. Okay, now you gotta go home. I'll probably see you next week, but it doesn't matter because I'll just keep boring the crap out of you. And then you'll never come back again. And then I can finally watch television. Well, it appears you found me in the part of the podcast I hate the most, where I tell you all about the places on the internet where you can find me. You can tell I hate this because of the sound effects making it sound like a stormy night in the drawing room of the damned. Now, there's that. Are you cool? I like cool people. It's the reason why I got involved in this business to begin with, just to meet cool people. Not losers. So if you're cool, feel free to go over to my website, nuzzlehouse.com, which basically just points you to Mastodon. Why did I go all in with Mastodon? I have no idea. But if you go there, it'll point you to my link tree where you can listen to episodes, which is confusing and meticulous. But if you want to go to just my link tree, which is linktr.ee/Nuzzlehouse, it'll point you to all the rest of my shows. Like Glen Reads Books to You, which you're listening to right now, Gestating the Curious Mind, where my wife and I write paranormal smut and then publish it on Amazon. And also Nuzzlehouse's CBS Radio Mystery Theater, where we basically create our own episodes of Radio Mystery Theater, a show from the 70s, because they don't make them anymore. Damn it, we want to hear something new. Oh, I'm also on Instagram, something that I try to use but dislike, which is Instagram.com/HouseNuzzle. And the lesser now, thanks to Elon Musk, Twitter. Used to be my home, and now I can't stand it, which is Twitter.com/HouseNuzzle. And since I think you might be cool, you can always just email me directly, glen.nuzzles@gmail.com. But don't email if you're a nerdling or a dork. Now, back to business. Can't believe I drank all of them already. There's gotta be one left.